For those I have not met, it's nice to see you virtually. I hope that one day we will be able to see each other in person again. Like that would be really nice. Human interaction would be great. I'm going to go over like a brief tutorial of Coyote Connection. Some of you may have some familiarity with the platform. Some of you don't or may not have any familiarity, and that's okay. I'm here to answer whatever questions, so feel free to stop me at any point and say like, I don't really understand this, or I have a deeper question. I'm comfortable with that, and it's pretty casual, so yeah, feel free to interrupt me at any time. Can you all see my screen okay?
Yes.
Awesome. So this is the platform. If you have My Coyote credentials, there is a public viewable space for Coyote Connection because you have the ability to not only promote your organization, but events to the larger San Bernardino community, or really now even the world community, since we live in this digital world, which we love and hate at the same time. So some information can be shown on the public site, but for access to all of the information, My Coyote credentials are needed. So there's a little bit of security there that you're not sharing everything and anything with the world. To log into Coyote Connection, you can find it in a couple of different ways. You could utilize the URL that's up here. It'll take you directly to this page where it may prompt you to sign in if you aren't connected to some version of My Coyote, or and with Duo, you know, I feel like we have to say yes and swipe yes to everything these days. So it may prompt you to log in if you come from just the URL space. You can also click that really nice banner that ITS has allowed us to keep up on My Coyote of that woman, the picture that Jackie sent out for this Zoom meeting. That banner will take you directly to this page as well. The way that I always get to it though is under the University Life tile, there is, when you click on that, it'll bring up our page and the alumni mentor network. If you click the tile that says Coyote Connection, it'll take you to this page. So lots of different ways to access the platform. If you may or may not have memberships when you log in, and this goes for both staff, faculty, and students. It's okay if you don't. If you are managing the Career Center page or you happen to be on their roster, it will show up in there. I liken this to Facebook pages because it provides instantaneous access to the information to the student or to faculty and staff members if you happen to be a member of the page. And at the very end, I'll show you all the co-curricular transcript, which is the icing on the cake for Coyote Connection and what our end goal is for this platform. And the more memberships a student has, the more things that will populate on their co-curricular transcript that could potentially show them a passion area or a niche area that maybe they weren't necessarily thinking about in their college career or their journey to whatever is next steps after their undergraduate career here. And this could also be applicable to graduate students too. Potentially that individual maybe is spending a lot of time in the cross-cultural centers, but happens to be a major that maybe doesn't support political advocacy. That could be either a way to have a conversation with a student about integrating those experiences, or how can we still fulfill this passion, but also get you to medical school or becoming an engineer, whatever it is that their hopes and dreams are. So these memberships may or may not be full for you. I happen to be a member of a lot of pages, but that isn't always normal for everyone. If you RSVP for an event on Coyote Connection, it shows up in this space, what's up next for you. I hope we will see the Career Center at our engagement expo, but I believe you all may have a virtual career fair that day too. So totally understandable if you can't attend our virtual fair. We'll still include information about you all to share with students. But this works for both students, faculty, and staff. If they RSVP for something, it will show up here as kind of a reminder for you every time you log into the platform that you have an event you're interested in attending, and it's coming up within the next couple of days. You'll also see that they can view events from the front page as well. I get lots of questions about the logic behind the events that are shown on the front page. Really, there is no logic to it. It's just whatever is coming up next on that day. So as you can see, all of the events are for today on Wednesday, probably early in the morning or till the evening, but it doesn't prioritize like type of event. It doesn't prioritize where it's coming from. It's just simply, is it happening today and is it happening in the next couple of hours? That's what it'll show. A student can also click this view more events button. We'll do that in a little bit to see all of the events that are on Coyote Connection. I feel like every time I log in, it's at about 160, and that's not per day. That's obviously over the course of a semester, but a student should have lots of options to see and peruse and get more information about from the event space. Also on this front page is this news space that can be used in a couple of different ways. It used to be the Office of Community Engagement was really on top of news articles, but now I can see that so many more folks are using it. We've thought about, Dr. Graham and I have thought about this being a space for a newsletter to go out to all students. We used to put one out through the Leaders Listserv that kind of was a collection of events that were happening across campus, and then send it out via email. But we all know that email is becoming away with the birds, especially for the students. They don't really want to read our emails anymore. And so this is another space we figure we can maybe use for a newsletter to not only drive traffic to the site, obviously, but also one more way around the email suck that seems to happen with students and even with faculty and staff members. But the news articles can really be used as an additional way to promote your event, or say you have resume tips that you just want to put out as a resource for students if we're getting closer to the end of the academic year and job searches are coming. This could be a really great place to share critical information. It could be a place to share debrief from an event so that it creates interest for the next time you all host it. Really, the world is your oyster with news events and can be used in a couple of different ways. If we scroll on up here to the events piece, I want to show you the way that you can kind of manipulate this space. So as you can see, there's a whole list of events, lots of things for students to choose from, both department-based events, so on the academic, either Division of Student Affairs, academic divisions, but also student organization events will be here as well. So, and the student has lots of options to choose from. And they kind of have a lot of ways to manipulate the information that they see here too. Obviously, they can search for a particular event. Maybe they saw a flyer over email, but wanted more information and didn't take the time to read that email. They can search for a couple of the keywords or what they remember from the title. They can find it. They can also search for date, either maybe they're looking for events that are just happening in the month of February because they're super interested about Black History Month and want to know what's happening in that space this month, but they also have the ability to extend that search frame too. Obviously, right now, we only have this online option because that's the only way we can do events, but in the future, it will say online and in person. And for Oscar, I know you're on the call. I'm also looking to add a PDC option there too, so that students can understand when we come back that this is a PDC based event. And I think I know we've talked a lot about how do we integrate PDC students into this platform.
Yeah, so and I know that is something that obviously we've been talking on the live student life committee. So I know that's something that Alfredo and Avi are really interested to know how we can differentiate, when it's PDC specific. So thank you.
Yes, no problem. I think that we can add it there, and also in the categories, I'm thinking maybe there's a way we can put it in there so that they can filter in both spaces if they don't catch it in that first checkbox. They can also search through branches. This doesn't really matter to students, I think, so much, but if they really were looking just for student organization events or just for department and office events, potentially for extra credit maybe, they could search via branch on Coyote Connection. Some campuses have it much more siloed in terms of like they have a housing department of housing branch, they have a ASI branch, they have an SMSU branch, lots of branches so that students can differentiate. We just happen to have 2 on this campus, so not super important. They can also search by themes and categories if they're really interested in a very specific type of event or a very specific type of outcome from that event. So that gives them the ability to manipulate the search. And this perks feature is really awesome when we're on campus because one of the things that you will see is free food, which we know was a major factor for our students, not only just the population, the community we serve, but food gets everyone to our events. Even as a college student myself, I went because of free food. So that's a checkbox that they can also would be able to filter through. Free stuff too is really awesome. And we're working on building out that credit piece with the academic side of the house so that students understand this event could potentially lead to extra credit in their class, but that's a partnership we're still working on. Any questions about this event space so far? I'll show you the back end of events from the department perspective with a little deeper dive. Nothing? Cool. So events are really awesome. On the department side, there is a way to house your attendance data, and I want to show you what the event process looks like slightly, because there's some information that I haven't necessarily shared explicitly that I think would be helpful. This is, did my screen follow? Can you all see that? It's kind of a not beautiful page. This is the management feature for Coyote Connection department pages or student organization pages. They look very similar. You all have a little bit more access than the student organizations do in terms of manipulating your pages. And that's just so we can vet some of the information that student organizations share. But everyone kind of sees the same makeup. So the Career Center student organization would also see the same management access. This is the menu of options that you have to manipulate the pieces of your pages. For the roster, I do want to note this because obviously when we get to the co-curricular transcript, folks are going to want to see what students have participated in, and they can't show that participation in terms of membership with an organization without being on someone's roster. And there's a couple of different ways that you can add folks to your roster, and it's really up to the department around how they want to manage this. For some of our departments, there's information security concerns about a student potentially identifying publicly in a way that they don't want to identify publicly. So think about SSD or potentially the LGBTQIA+ Staff and Faculty Association, Staff, Student, and Faculty Association. We don't necessarily want to out someone if they aren't ready to share that information with the world. And so some departments have taken the stance that they may not add students to their roster, but for some of our departments that may just be general services around a particular outcome, like ours is leadership, yours is obviously career readiness, it may be helpful to add students to your roster. And they do have the ability to make themselves private so that only folks who have administrative access to the page or high level administrative access like me to the whole platform, those are the only folks who would be able to see that they're on the roster. Anyone who visibly viewed them, the page and saw the roster would see a total number of participants, but they wouldn't, for anyone who is private, they would not see their name, first or last name. So that's helpful to note. People can join your page by clicking the join button when they visit your page through Coyote Connection, but you can also invite them through this button, and it'll allow you to invite them via email address. And it'll send it to their email and says, the Career Center is inviting you to join their Coyote Connection page. And they click that button and they say, yes, I want to be a part of it. The one important thing to note is when you are adding email addresses via Coyote Connection, it has to be the alias email address. We're working on getting them a more consistent data upload from PeopleSoft because we're noticing some differences in regular students versus student employees, what email address the platform recognizes. But the best tool of thumb is to always use that alias address, not the Coyote ID at coyote.csusb, but that version of their first and last name letters. That is the email address currently it recognizes. And again, it's up to the department about who they add to the roster. I feel like the consistent piece right now is we at least have all of our student assistants uploaded and the folks that in the department who have necessary or needs on Coyote Connection, like entering rosters or entering events, excuse me, and keeping assessment data. So that's kind of been the consistent thing I've seen with departments. But some do open it up to everybody and anybody to join their page. If we talk about events, You can see in OSC, we have a ton of them. And I think I've seen some Career Center events in the platform. So I know most of you may have seen this, so I apologize if this is a repeat. When you create an event, it takes you through a couple of different steps. The student organization event process is a little bit more lengthy because, again, we're looking to assess risk in their events and understand if it needs to go to the special events committee. For departments on the platform, we don't ask for approval for an event. It should just automatically approve and upload your event to the platform. You obviously have to put in an event title and a theme, description. You can choose co-hosts for your event, and it will only populate the folks who are on the Coyote Connection platform. So if you're looking for someone who doesn't have a page, but you'd like to be able to add them as a co-host, just let me know, because that may be a department I can reach out to and say, hey, we'd love to add you on Coyote Connection and start to advertise your events. And I'll even make it super easy for you and add your page and create it for you. So that's important to note here. And if you're doing anything in Coyote Hour on Tuesdays or Thursdays, please always add that as a co-host. You'll see you can add Coyote Hour to this for any of your events that you're doing on Tuesday or Thursday from 12 to 1. It'll ask you for a time and place, and obviously an online location. We're hoping in the future that this location button will be integrated with EMS. And so you'll be able to complete this event registration and the EMS registration in the same place. But that's obviously a dream for when we get back to campus and can utilize EMS in another way. But that would be the hope for this process. This is where you have the ability to limit the information that you share with the public or with what community you'd like to share. Obviously, the public is with everybody, and anyone who clicks on even that public facing platform for Engage would be able to access the information, potentially the Zoom information or the registration information. You also can limit that visibility to just students and staff at CSUSB, which would mean anyone who has My Coyote credentials would be able to log in and see that information. You can set it to just organization members. So say you're doing something for just your student staff that you really want to be publicized to all of them or to end up on the Cocurricular Transcript, this setting would only share it with the folks who are on your roster. And then the invited users only is only folks that you choose to invite to this event. It could be folks that are on your roster, but it could also be just random Coyote Connection users. Maybe you wanted to do something with all of the student employees on campus in conjunction with student employment and only wanted to invite student employees. That's where you would utilize the invited users only. And then you can select categories and perks. And categories, it's an unlimited number of categories, so you can choose as many as you feel like it fits. We for sure need to do some tweaking on the event categories, so we're always open to new suggestions and ideas if you have them, because I think as we've gone through this process, we really created the event categories in-house from OSC, but I don't think at that point we had even thought this will be a hopefully campus-wide platform at that point. So again, we're seeking feedback for that. And then the perks piece again is that the ability for you to say, yep, this is going to have free stuff. There will be free credit or extra credit offered at this event, or free food when we get back to campus. And there's a couple more steps that this will take you through. Right now, this piece does not show to other folks in the division. It only shows to me because we're still working on it. But eventually you all will help us track the impact model through the event process. And so we'll ask you to align your event with one of those larger buckets, the Achieve, Connect, Thrive, and then give you the ability to also align it with additional outcomes if you feel like maybe it belongs in both Achieve and Connect or Thrive and Achieve, so that Jennifer is able to start collecting some of that impact model assessment data for the division. I think are there a couple of questions in the chat, Jackie?
I put one, but I know Gabby and Valentina has a couple questions. But right now, when you mention if we did, for example, an event just for student assistance, how can we know what students are part of our group organization and Coyote Connections that are just student assistants? Like, how do we distinguish that
That's a
through
good
this
question.
platform?
You, I can pull data based on position type. And so if they are marked as student assistants in Coyote Connection, I can pull that data for you and send it. And it will include their name and their Coyote ID. If they are not uploaded under that position, it might take us a little bit of work with student employment to do some matching of who are these student assistants that we're looking for in the system. If you have them on your own page though, then it's super easy because you would assign them that student assistant title from the roster, and you would be able to export that roster pretty easily and know which, obviously you already know who works in the department, but you could export that roster too from Coyote Connection as well. I am speaking with student employment about how we can integrate student employment with the co-curricular transcript, which may make it easier because at that point we would require student assistants to be uploaded somewhere in the system, either in their own student employment page or on individual Coyote Connection pages in the division and hopefully beyond that.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Gabby or Valentina, do you guys want to ask your questions?
Actually, Jackie answered it while she was explaining the emails and what was the alias email, because I was like, I've never heard that term, but thank you.
Okay.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I know it's so weird, and we didn't figure it out until Liz had a couple of issues inviting folks to one of her events. Yes, and students can find that alias email address in their PeopleSoft. I think just not really ever sent them there because they haven't needed it in the past. But for Coyote Connection, unfortunately, because of FERPA, they want the alias so that we're not sharing students' ID numbers with everybody and anybody.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
No problem. Valentina, do you have a question?
Oh, we can't hear you.
If I'm not mistaken, I think she put it in the chat.
Oh, did she?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, Jackie. Thank you for providing this helpful training. Is there an option to integrate our other social media sites? We find ourselves doing so much work to promote a single event, Handshake newsletter, Handshake event, website events page, Insta, and Facebook. We have almost 30 events per semester.
There isn't natural integration between social media sites and Coyote Connection. On your department's page, you have the ability to add your social media handles in your external website. That would be like your CSUSB website. But you have the ability to put Facebook on there, Twitter and Instagram, so students can access it, but the information doesn't talk to each other. I wonder if there is some integration with Handshake because Handshake has been a platform for a really long time. This is something I'm going to add to my list of questions for Engage, because I wonder if there is some natural integration with Handshake. But to share information on social media from this, really Dr. Graham and I have talked about like taking a screenshot of the event with the information or sharing the event link on your social media so that students can click it and they go directly to the event page. That's really the only way to link those two pieces together. But I'm going to ask about Handshake because I really think that there could be either a custom integration that we could build, or they have one out there because Handshake has just been around for so long. So I don't have all the answers on that one, Valentina, but I will ask about Handshake for sure. Does that help with social media, or is that what you were looking for?
Well, what I was looking for is, when you post on Instagram, you have the option of it automatically going to, other sites. And so I didn't think that there would be that option, but I just wanted to make sure. I know that would have to be a full integration with their with their channels, and I don't think we're there. But I had another question about notifications. If there's some kind of setting that the students can do in order to to get notifications for events that come up so that they come to them instead of them just kind of finding it when they're on Coyote Connection. But if you're going to address that later in your presentation.
No, that's a good question, Valentina. There isn't, OrgSync functioned in that way, which we really loved about OrgSync, is that there was the ability for it to communicate to students outward, engage, even though they bought OrgSync for some reason that whenever they were building the platform, that wasn't considered. So yes, there is a way for students to be contacted, but not in the like immediate way that you would think to remind them about events or show them like, hey, there are Coyote Connection events here. Because you can message folks who have RSVP'd for the event. You can message folks who are on your organization's roster. So again, one more reason to add folks to your page and to your roster, to share with them, to send them an email that says, hey, we've got all of these events, similar to that like newsletter that you all send every week. But no, there isn't a way to really like link the two, if that makes sense. There's some work that has to happen to show them the events, not just, it doesn't just naturally occur. And that's why we're working on this, the newsletter piece. What Deary and I are hoping for is that we would group the students by graduating class and then share that newsletter that's inclusive of all of the division events with each of those classes every week, so that yes, it piques their interest in Coyote Connection, but we're doing that very thing, delivering them the events that are possible or able for them to find more information on Coyote Connection without having to reverse that and ask them to go to Coyote Connection to find them. There just isn't a natural link at this moment.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. So the rest of the event process will take you through a question about registration, and that registration, again, you have the ability to manipulate the visibility of RSVPs. It can be to public and to anybody. You can set it to only the CSUSB community. Again, you can set it to only invitees only, or only people who are in your organization. So you have the ability to manipulate that RSVP, and you can turn it off entirely, which some folks have done if they are collecting RSVPs through a Qualtrics form or through some other process. Google form, I know there are a million of them out there. You can also embed the Zoom registration into the description if that's what you're utilizing for your programs as well, and turn the RSVP piece off. But the RSVP feature in here will allow you to ask, if you turn it on and you'd like it to ask additional questions, you can build that RSVP form in this event process. So if you wanted to get their Coyote Connection or their Coyote ID, their dietary restrictions, maybe questions that they want to ask the panel, those can all be built into this RSVP process. And then on the back end, the next piece that it will ask you is if you'd like to send a post survey to all event attendees. And so anyone who was marked as attended at your event, either because you've uploaded the attendance on the back end, or I'll show you, they have unique URLs that are linked to each of these programs that you can drop in a Zoom chat or even send out in an email after your event. And any student who clicks on that, that link will be automatically captured as attended in the system. So all of your attendance data sits in one space instead of being on multiple Excel spreadsheets. And then if those students have attended, it will send them that post survey, and all of your data again will be kept in this one system. And then the last thing it will ask you is about an upload for a picture. And there are specific requirements for how large that picture can be. I will share that information with you, Jackie, in case your team does not have it, because if it's not within those certain dimensions, then the whole flyer will not show, and you'll have to crop it to show whatever piece of information you're hoping to share with the community. And if you upload a PDF, it doesn't give you the ability to crop it. So I think there's a couple of pieces for that picture that I know have frustrated folks. And so I'm trying to just share best practices around the event process. When you're finished with an event and you'd like to upload attendance to it, because we are hoping to have an integration between this and other pieces of campus labs. There is one called Insight, which we can feed our attendance data into it. And Insight is kind of managed by IR. And that'll give us the deeper dive into the data in terms of demographic information of the folks who have attended our events. Are they unique attendees, or are they frequent flyers of our programs? That's where the deeper assessment data will come from, is when we engage to the other pieces of Coyote Connection. You can add attendance on the back end to an event in a couple of different ways. There's a piece in the event process that allows you to mark RSVPs if you've allowed them to be captured and collected on the platform as attended, but you can also do it if you're capturing it in a different way, via a text entry or a file upload. So this again would have to be the alias email addresses, because it won't allow the Coyote ID number at coyote.csusb. But you can also upload them by ID number, which is always the easiest. And you just copy and paste all of those card ID numbers there, and then mark as attended, hit add, and it'll upload all of that attendance. You can also do it via file upload as well. And it has changed recently to allow a Zoom file as well, since we're all living in the Zoomiverse. So if you're pulling card swipes from an event when we're physically in person, you're able to upload it from an Excel sheet, but they also now have the option to do it via Zoom too. There are additional statuses like absent, excused, NA. We do not use those in the office, but if they are of use to you all, they happen to be there as well. But most of the folks that we keep in the system are always marked as attended. They aren't marked as any of the other pieces. I saw there were a couple more questions come through. Let me see if I can read them.
Yes, that was actually me. As you're going through, I just want to make sure I write my questions down before I forget towards the end. But my first question that I had is, right now that you mentioned the post survey, does that post survey generate questions on its own, or do we have to create those post survey questions?
It does not generate them. That would be on the department, so that it's really customizable. There's not any hard-coded questions. The only hard-coded information in the events in terms of like feedback would be if you turned the rating system on, and it would allow anyone who attended the event to give a 5-star rating, and then a little description or comment, similar to like Yelp or anything on Amazon. But if you wanted to send out a post-event survey, yes, you would create those questions, and it allows you to ask radio style questions, multiple choice style questions, checkbox, text, all sorts of different ones, similar to if you were building something in Qualtrics or Google Forms.
Okay. And then my next question is, because I've found myself as I'm creating the event, after I create the event, I invite the students who are pretty much connected with us on Coyote Connection, but I haven't found a feature where I can just invite them all. I have to click one by one to invite them, or click first the students, all of the students, or everyone who's connected on Coyote Connections with the Career Center, one by one, and then once I'm done, then I have to send out the invitation. Is there a way to just select them all and invite them?
That's a good question. This might be the update, because Jackie, similar to you, when I did a virtual fair last semester, it automatically invited everybody that was in both of the branches, all of the organizations, but now it asked me to do them individually. So I'm wondering if that was an update on Engage's like backend, that they didn't realize the impact it was going to have on us, because I don't even have the option to select them all now. I have to do it individually.
Individually.
So let me give them that feedback that we'd like there to be a both option. We would like not only to select them all, but also to be able to select them individually.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions that they would like to ask Jackie? Cricket. I guess not. Keep going.
So this, again, this is just the way that you can keep all of your attendance. We're running a pilot with the Black History Month events because Dr. Irvin and there is another professor who's also Dr. Anderson are interested in providing extra credit for their events. And so I imagine you all will start to see more of an ask for keeping attendance data in this platform as we connect to the academic side of the house a little bit more, and they kind of get on board with Coyote Connection and the co-curricular transcript.
Awesome. Okay.
In the event, let me show you where this, I'm going to show it on an actual one. So if we're taking our virtual fair, for example, and this is the information that a student will see. When you are publicizing the event, please use this URL, not the one that you see when you finalize an event. If you share that URL, it will only allow folks who have access to manage your page to view whatever details are on there. This is the public URL for any event that you want to share. So always use that one. Don't use the one that you see on the manage side. When you do click manage the event, this is where we will see that attendance URL I was chatting about. All events now have this attendance URL. If you would like to use it and would like to keep your attendance inside of the platform in an easy way, all you got to do is copy and paste this, drop it in a Zoom link or in a Zoom chat or in an email afterwards. And anyone who clicks on that within 72 hours of the event will be marked as attended in the platform, which is really great. And this can also be transformed into a QR code too. If you happen to be in a space maybe sometime soon when we're in person and can just QR code, but sometimes also students, have their phone and their laptop on at the same time. So there's that option as well. And then again, you can track attendance in that same way with uploading email addresses, IDs, and whatever in either format. And you can also mark folks as attended if they have RSVP to the event. With the virtual fair, which I think it would be really great if we could get employers on this platform, because I think, but I've also know that Handshake does an excellent job of the virtual fair. My husband works at Esri as a recruiter, and he's participated in a couple of Handshake virtual fairs, but we also have the ability on Coyote Connection to do a virtual fair. It's just complicated when it's outside entities because they need access to the platform. So if there's ever a way that we can make that happen, I want to make that happen, but I know that Handshake does that for you all too. And the virtual fair, the really neat part about the virtual fair on Coyote Connection is anyone who clicks the event when it's live, it automatically captures their attendance, which is really wonderful. And I'm sure Handshake does that as well. I know it's super organized. He always is really excited when he gets to attend a virtual fair via Handshake. Let me see what else.
There's 2 questions in the chat for you. First one is from Valentina. Are there any views reports or similar data? Wondering how we know how effective our organization is doing in research and reaching students and engaging them.
Yes, oh, that's a good question, Valentina. The one I get asked all the time. We had just recently set up the analytics part of Coyote Connection with Google Analytics. And currently we only, because Chris and I couldn't figure out the nuances of Google Analytics, we're going to work on that with the Engage consultant. We're only tracking views on the entire site. We haven't gotten to the drill down piece of it where we're capturing views for each individual page. It seems like we have spikes on Friday, which is really interesting. That's been our highest analytics spike. I think we've gotten an average of like 500 students on Fridays, which is really fascinating to me. I didn't think that would not have been my hypothesis or my guess around when the spike would happen for Coyote Connection. And it seems like we're averaging 200 to 300 views on a daily basis. And that could be faculty staff who are inputting events, but I'm also hoping that it's students. And it seems like the trend line is growing. So we have some baseline data now, Valentina, but nothing too long-term or concrete to share really great data, but we're getting somewhere, which is better. And anecdotally, we see on the user side from the admin level who has logged in, and that seems to be increasing every single day. You can flip through the pages to see the last time someone logged in, and it's getting longer and longer, as opposed to when I would first come in, it would be like, we had a couple of logins this day, maybe 2 or 3 the next day. So it's growing. It's just, it's got a long way to go, that's for sure. But now we at least have some baseline data around that. So thank you for that question, Valentina.
And my question was, right now that you showed us the back end of the event when creating it, I saw an access code. When is the access code used, or what is the access code?
Yes, that's when we're in person. That's what you
okay.
use to be able to swipe in students through their event pass. But that will come when we come back to campus. We had tried to do the event pass for our engagement expo and for, I think it was the leadership symposium prior to the shutdown. And it worked well, but campus Wi-Fi sometimes got in the way of it being executed efficiently, because either we had a lag or the students had a lag downloading it. What we're hoping with the event pass piece is that students will save that event pass either as a screenshot in their photos, or they can put it in their Apple passport, and then it will just become a thing that everyone in the division uses. But we hadn't even gotten to the part about rolling out the event pass to everyone in the division before COVID just turned our whole worlds upside down. So that's on the list of things to bring back when we can finally be back in person.
Okay. And then is the Engagement Expo next week going to be here, the virtual platform of Coyote Connection?
Yep. You want to see a preview of it?
Yes, please.
Cool. I'm really excited about this, and I hope that we will get some more students to participate in this one. We had like 2 or 3 students, I think, at our booth, and a couple other departments felt that at our last virtual fair. But a student should be able to see this as well, to preview it. And when the fair is live, not only will they see like a giant banner at the top of Coyote Connection that says a virtual fair is happening, click on this link now. They also could click on the event itself, the one that I clicked on, and it would take them to this page. And so when they log in, they'll see this help desk. They click on this blue link and they will pop in, and I'll be sitting there to help them either navigate the virtual fair or answer general questions about involvement or the division. And then they see all of these booths. We have the ability to pin 2 booths to the top. And for my partnership with graduate studies, we're gonna pin graduate studies at the very top of the page, so that any student who's just not sure what program they want to pursue for their graduate studies, they can meet with the Office of Graduate Studies to have some of that informational conversation. But for our virtual fairs, we haven't necessarily utilized that. I have some ideas about how I could use it in the fraternity and sorority community if we were to do a virtual fair for their organizations. And semi for the student organizations, I think the same idea could work. But for our virtual fairs, we just let it be alphabetical at this point, so that no one feels like we haven't stepped on anyone's toes, and no one feels extra special or slighted because they weren't pinned. But the student has the ability to request to join the organization, which would request them to be added to the roster on Coyote Connection. And they also have the ability to meet them online. So this booth has provided a Zoom link that when the student clicks meet online, it'll take them to that Zoom room where they can interact with the members of the American Marketing Association. And then when they're finished having that conversation and they want to like scroll down and go to the math club, they can click out of that Zoom box. It'll still be on this page, and they'll be able to click meet online again and go in and hang out with the math club at San Bernardino. There is one other option. So say no members were able to attend on the day of the virtual fair, this meet online button would turn into a contact button, and the students would be able to email that organization their questions for meeting times or for more information. So they have a couple of different ways to interact with departments and student organizations on the day of. And that invite is in the manage feature of your Coyote Connections department page. I'm sure you saw it when I was on ours. It says like the engagement 2021 engagement expo, there's a virtual fair happening. Do you want to participate? And then you click the button that says yes, and it'll take you to a small registration that asks for the Zoom link or a Discord link. We've had a couple of departments use Discord for gaming purposes, but we prefer Zoom links, and we share that that's probably what students will actually have on their computer, unless they happen to have an interest in gaming. They may have Discord. And then it also asks you to provide that little blurb so that students know what they will be able to find out or gain access to when they meet with you online. But I'm really excited about it.
This is, hello, Jackie. John Paul is jumping in.
Hi, John Paul.
Super excited to learn more and actually see the demo of that virtual career fair. I think there's a good opportunity. We may be able to try that out. I like
the on-campus employment fair. I feel like we could really for sure pull that one off on Coyote Connection. The outside entities will work on that one, but I think that there is some potential there.
And then do you think, I mean, for the virtual fair, it sounds like there's some benefits over even the Handshake platform we're using.
Yes, I know that one piece of the Handshake platform that is really beneficial is that ability to schedule timeframes with students or with for interviews or informational sessions. That's the only thing that this doesn't allow. I guess the business or the department could put on a Zoom registration link for that meet online so that it would have timeframes, or they could keep them in a waiting room to allow for a better flow of traffic. But that's the only piece of feedback that I have been given from folks is they like that about Handshake, that there's the ability to schedule individuals, and this doesn't necessarily allow for that, but it does allow for ease of transition between departments or organizations that are in the space, because you're really just popping into a Zoom and then out of a Zoom back into this page.
And they can pop in at any time, right?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, see that, I think that's a huge benefit, because with Handshake, after 5 minutes, you can't join a session.
Oh.
So that's a big one. And then if the Coyote Connection is using Zoom, you know, we have the ability to record sessions and share it after as well, which is really nice. So maybe Jackie and I, we can all get together and look at it a little deeper. We might be able to do something.
Yeah, that would be really awesome. I would welcome that conversation. It for sure is it's easy for the user, the person who's like actually in the Zoom room, because they don't have to navigate most of Coyote Connection. We can set that up for them. That's what we're doing for graduate studies, because we knew that the academic programs may be hesitant to add another to do on their plates or on their list. And so we're creating all of their pages for them. We're inserting the description in the Zoom link, and all they have to do is on the day of the event, show up in that Zoom room. The students kind of navigate this platform, but they're a little bit more technologically savvy sometimes. And they, again, just the ease, if they can show up at any time, doesn't have to be, as long as it's within the time frame of the space being live. You're totally right. We could record those sessions as well and send them out to students who are interested. And anyone who attends, John Paul, you don't even have to do an attendance sheet, because it will capture all of them for you.
Oh, that sounds great. I know you like that, Jackie. That sounds awesome. So yeah, we'll definitely get together on that. Thank you.
Cool, no problem.
And my question was answered during this conversation, so go right ahead.
Yes. I think that's kind of, I want to show you the co-curricular transcript before we leave, because this is the penultimate piece. So we're working towards getting to this co-curricular transcript, which will serve, we're hoping, right alongside that academic transcript to show a student's full involvement on campus, and again, to help them understand where their niches are, where their passion areas are, and how to connect the dots to a future career, whether that means immediate employment or that means graduate school. So a student, staff, and faculty member at this point can access their co-curricular transcript at any time. We've incorporated the impact model into it so that students and employers or graduate school admissions can see the various buckets or places that a student has participated in. And so you can see that achieve one, and then the other ones will eventually go away to show the bigger buckets of the impact model, but it really will show the number of events or involvements, memberships that a student has done in those larger buckets. And then it allows for involvements to be shown on the co-curricular transcript. So anything that they are a member of or have some sort of positionality. And they can manipulate, again, the co-curricular transcript to either hide that because maybe it's not super relevant or important. Maybe like this advising and academic services one, I'm just a member, and so maybe that's not super important. But for Greek life, I for sure want to show that because I was a staff member or a president on there. So they can hide pieces of this. They can also move them up and down in case they want to show the importance of that involvement, or that it is the largest part of their soft skill development in undergrad. And then in addition to involvement, too many pages, there's also the ability to add events to this space as well. And experiences are also kind of tied into here. So we can upload things on the back end. So for example, if a student had participated in something a couple of years ago when Coyote Connection wasn't around, or we weren't, it wasn't as full as it is now, we in my office have the ability to add involvement to this. And so we're working on doing that with, like I said, student employment. We really want to add student employment to the co-curricular transcript. Aurora is messing around with how we can incorporate this into Coyote First Steps and get those students really started on this co-curricular transcript at the outset of their time here at Cal State San Bernardino. And it'll show the impact of those events at the very top in the impact model. So this is what we're really trying to get to, is a cohesive co-curricular transcript that legitimizes the work of student affairs and is seen in just as high regard as that academic transcript. So a student really is showing their full picture in that holistic picture of themselves when they are entering into the career world or into their next steps in graduate school. So this is what we're working towards. We have 20 students that are a part of a pilot group cohort this academic year that's going to work with the co-curricular transcript and provide us feedback on how we can change the layout of it, the design of it, and how it could be beneficial to their peers in the future. So this is what we're really working towards, and why the method behind the madness of Coyote Connection is because we want this document to really sit in a space, again, of high regard. I know that student affairs isn't always valued, but the work that we do is important, and the work that the students do with us is super important. And this will hopefully be one more notch in the belt of saying, like, yes, we do important work here, we do impactful work here.
Valentina wants to know if there's a way to search for activities that take place during Coyote Hour. Apologies if you have already answered this question.
Yes, Valentina, yes, you can go to the Coyote Hour. Oh, I just probably made everyone dizzy. You can go to the Coyote Hour page, and some of them will show there. This is what we're working on in the Coyote Connections programming group, is you can see my event is the only one that's there. We're working on the Coyote Connection programming group to make sure that this is a centralized location for Coyote Hour events. And the marketing team, along with the themes and calendaring team, are charged now with coming up with how do we market these events in a cohesive way? Can we have a calendar for every month that have Coyote Hour events, and how are we pushing that out to the division and to students? Obviously we'll be on Coyote Connection, but I imagine it will be a combination of email outreach as well. So that is coming, but they should all be uploaded to this page. That's where you could send students to in the future.
Okay, so we would use that Coyote Hour event highlight form?
No, this is what they were trying to work with. Monica and Sarah DeMoss are the co-chairs of that subcommittee. This is what they were originally intending to utilize this Coyote Hour event highlight for, was to intake events and then put them on social media. But when you are creating your event in Coyote Connection, it'll ask you for co-collaborators underneath the description. And all you got to do is type in Coyote Hour into that box and click on the page that it brings up, and it will automatically highlight your event on Coyote Hour page and the Career Center page. So if you were to look for the Engagement Expo, you would see it here, and you would also see it on the OSC website too, or the OSC page as well.
If we've already created our event on Coyote Connection, is there a way to go back and change the settings so we can do the co-collaborate? Okay, because all of our...
Go ahead,
Sorry,
Del.
go ahead.
When you go into Zoom, I hate this. When you go into manage events, you are able, when you click that button, it'll take you to the manage details for events. And here, I'll just show you because it's easier to visualize it.
Oh, Crystal's paying attention. Because we have about, I don't know, 12 workshops that are during Coyote Hour, or 11 that we
would
have.
love to see them there.
I know. I'm excited for the link where they can just click to check in.
Yes, that's like super. It's really convenient and has worked for our office, because we always are like, oh crap, we forgot to collect attendance. Oh, just drop that Zoom link there and they'll just click on it. That's so much easier.
Right. Yeah, it's very convenient.
This change details event, this change details button is the one that you will click on to change any of the event information. And that's where you'll add your additional co-hosts for the event, the collaborators. So you'll just type Coyote Hour in there, and when it populates, it'll populate on here. I don't know if it will because it's already linked. It normally drops down a box with a blue link. I wonder if I can type Career Center. Let's see. Yeah, you would just toggle over this, click on it, and then it will sit there. When it's like the red with the X, or the black with the red X on it, that means that it's locked in, and it'll show on all of those various pages. So you just want to go in there and change all of them to also include Coyote Hour.
Thank you.
No problem.
That's nice. I like that.
Thank you, Jackie. I myself and the whole department's appreciative of your presentation and the knowledge that you shared with us, because it is fairly new. How long has Coyote Connections been live?
We're going into our third year.
Oh, okay.
So but really it has not, I think that when Dr. Satterlin, and he would hate that I say this, but Dr. McCall, he hates it even though he has a PhD, earned that doctor title. I think that they had a hope that it would be a campus-wide platform, but really hadn't talked about how do we roll that out. And so now we're having those conversations a little bit later than they should have happened, but I'm just appreciative of the support that Paz and Daria have shared, and that I'm getting some buy-in, and that you all are taking a chance on Coyote Connection, because I know it's one additional platform that you have to learn and understand.
Well, we're getting through it. That's why I called for this meeting too, so we can all learn more about it too. And since it's coming from the VP's office, like, sure, why not? Let's see what we need to work on now. Yeah, but thank you. And then we'll definitely touch base again, especially since we're interested on that virtual platform to host virtual fairs, virtual career fairs, so we can see how we can implement this to Handshake, or how we can do more with this with Coyote Connection.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited for further conversations, and happy to be of support at any time. So if you get stuck in something in Coyote Connection, or you can't remember what I said because I talk super fast, by all means, please reach out. Happy to revisit with the Career Center at a later date. and further the conversation and be of support in Coyote Connection. So thank you all for being here, and thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for who joined too.
I'll see you all soon.
Bye. Thank you.
Have a good day.